Brothers of three. Who are they? Zrahnz looked at the projected images on the wall. No one else has taken an interest in the images adorning the corridors. Itanya's eyes immediately lowered, constantly feeling out of place in the presence of the prince. Forgive me. Always you ask for my forgiveness. There's nothing to forgive. I'm pleased that you've taken an interest in the histories of Triaxeyn. I hope that this will be your home, and I'd have you well versed on our ancestors in history, he said, motioning to the images. These are the brothers of three. Her visage was perplexed, glancing at the images and back to him. The brothers of three were triplet kings who ruled the Triax planets, he said. What are the Triax planets? Zrahnz pointed to the emblem on his tunic, and then to the same on the tunics of the men in the images. Triaxeyn and Kalor are two of the Triax planets. But you said there were three. The third was called Orance. It shared our orbit and was located a short distance from Triaxeyn. We were the center of the three, forming the Triax. However, Orance was destroyed over one of Earth's centuries ago. Destroyed? How? It was attacked by a United Space Fleet. But from the orbital view station, I saw nothing but Kalor and Triaxeyn. It was the same from the observation deck of my ship. There were only 2 planets. That's due to the attack. Orance was completely annihilated. Itanya's brow knitted. But even with the smallest of asteroids or dwarf planets, something remains. I understand with the lack of gravity present in open space that the debris would drift. With a planet relative to the size of Triaxeyn, shouldn't there be some remains of Orance? You've a cultivated mind. That's pleasing. Tell me, what would you expect to see if a planet was destroyed? Itanya shrugged. She had studied astrophysics and galactic interpretation and anomalies while she served the ship. It was the one thing she enjoyed. The ship's onboard training stations were excellent, and she spent all of her free time interacting with the holographic professors. With the extended databases on Triaxeyn, her knowledge had grown. Well, I think that the fragments of the planet would continue following the original orbit. But that could be altered depending on any energy they'd gained or lost in the explosion. She gazed up at him, and he prodded her on. Some debris could ultimately impact as meteorites, I suppose. Please, continue. Some theorists say that depending upon the size or density of the debris, that it could possibly coalesce and form a new planet. It's been argued that depending on one planet's proximity to another, that the destruction of one would also impact the other. And what do you think? I've received no advanced honors in the field. I only know what I've read. From your responses thus far, your knowledge is far beyond many. Please, on which side of the argument do you find yourself? I recall inverse square law. It states that the intensity of an effect like gravitational force changes in inverse proportion to the square of the distance from the source. He nodded, tucking a hand beneath his chin. What does this law mean to you? Planets shouldn't have a great effect on one another unless they are extremely close, and solar systems are dominated by their star, which has almost all the mass. So Triaxeyn wouldn't have been affected with the destruction of Orance, but... Please, ask what you will. I'm fascinated by your reasoning. But that doesn't explain the lack of debris. Shouldn't something remain? You are correct in your interpretation. If it had been a natural occurrence, or even a normal fleeted attack, there would be debris that remained. That was not the case with Orance. The manner in which they were destroyed left nothing behind. It was a strategic assault on our sister planet. At that time, King Zebek sat on the throne. The fleet destroyed Orance and used a type of enclosed energy pocket, much like a force field or enhanced interconnected shielding, to not only contain the blast, but to remove all evidence of Orance's existence. Why? Why would anyone do something so contemptible? For the same reason that people murder, steal, and destroy on your home planet. Power, control, and monetary gain. But an entire planet, Zrahnz? How? Most of those of Orance were massacred. The antimatter rods they injected into the core had a devastating effect. Antimatter weapons? I thought it a mere theory, a terrifying hope of physicists. I'm certain you recognize the most violent reaction that occurs when matter and antimatter coalesce, and understand the destructive power of this attack, he said. I've read that matter and antimatter particles are always produced as a pair and, if they come in contact, annihilate each other, leaving behind pure energy. But CP violation, he shook his head. Your study of particle physics is exemplary. However, you're now on Triaxeyn, not Earth. Those theories that remain unsubstantiated have been proven, practiced, and become realities here. The destructive qualities are immeasurable. Although the use of antimatter was rudimentary then, we've perfected it. Some of our advancements were used to create all that you see about you, and others I pray that you'll never have to witness. She nodded pensively. But Orance, nothing remained? There are fragments of our sister planet, and we shall find them. Those on the planet's surface were killed, albeit there are many who remain and are kin to us. The brothers of three were just and honorable rulers, said to be chosen by the wielders themselves. He pointed to each image respectively. Zebek, king of Orance, Zorn, king of Triaxeyn, and Zolran, king of Kalor. When he finished, he placed a hand over his heart and bowed. Forever we will honor them. My prince, SO-12 called as he approached. What is it? Q-1 Raydren sent me to retrieve you. He has need of you at Science Station 3. Very well, he said, raising Itanya's hand to his lips. Please excuse me. We'll finish the tour another time. Yes, Zrahnz, she curtsied. Ensure that she has access to my private bathing chamber, he instructed her escort. When she turned and looked up at him, he stroked her cheek. I'd like your company this evening. The business of Triaxeyn has kept me occupied far too often of late. Would you like to join me? I would, she said, smiling and moving off with her escort. She's a pretty one, Zrahnz, Aldrin teased, nudging his arm. Zrahnz gazed over at his guard from the corner of his eye, suppressing his smile. All those of my L'Orange are beautiful. They are, but she's different from the other lovelies, he whispered. You can't tell me that you don't see it. Zrahnz offered a slight, agreeing tilt of his head. Aldrin was the only one of his guard that could address him informally. He was not only his P1, he was his closest friend. She's intelligent, and that's pleasing. Aldrin smiled, pausing in front of the doors. There's more than intelligence that's pleasing about that one, he winked. It's good to be the prince.